What's up? Hello.
Yo, how's it going, Greydon?
Good. How about you? Dang, you got your hair all set up and everything.
Yeah, I just got the shower a little bit ago, bro.
Shit, looking clean, looking cool. Nah, I'm just wearing a hoodie right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Nah,
I didn't care.
yeah, you're good, bro. You're good, bro. How you been, bro?
I've been chilling. This first week of summer. It's been kind of slow, but hopefully I can start working.
Nah, there you go, there you go. No, I mean, how was graduation, bro? Cause I mean, like, I know you were like what, like a year or two ahead of like us, and so I
Yeah.
remember I saw you on I was watching like the recording, and I saw you get it. You were all like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey, that's my boy Greydon right there."
No, I don't know. It felt, I guess, kind of like unreal at the moment, but I don't know, kind of like a good feeling, but a bad feeling at the same time. You're
Mm,
leaving where you was living after 4 years.
Not for real, but nah, yeah, man. I mean, that's sick, bro. I know you're telling me that you're trying to like what, like work two jobs right now, huh?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get as much hours as I can right now.
There you go. There you go. Did you like did you work in the past back at home?
Not or nothing major, just retail jobs. But
Mm. I feel it. I feel it.
yeah, that's how I got working one of the retail jobs right now. I just messaged the old manager that was still working there, and she hooked that up for me, and then just waiting on the bank jobs.
No, I feel it. I feel it. That's literally what I did right now too, cause I used to work at Wells Fargo. So I hit up my old managers, and I was like, "Yo, like like, can you guys get me a position?" And so I actually was able to get in touch with my service manager and my bank and my branch manager, and I was actually able to get like the my old job back and a raise on top of it. So it was pretty dope. I was like, "Hey,
Okay,
like that's
okay.
actually nice." But no, yeah, man. I mean, we're meeting today. Obviously, I reached out to you, but I kind of just want to let you know, that like, we're not gonna talk so much about business. I just kind of, just want to like get to know you a bit more. Like, I know we knew each other already, like, business society. We kind of met each other. We kind of went
Uh,
out bowling, one time. But yeah, I mean, I kind of just wanted to see, like, if our goals, if our values align, kind of just get to know each other a bit more. And also, wanted to actually introduce you to my business partner because he's actually the one who kind of introduced this opportunity to me, like about a year ago. And so he's kind of helped me to scale up my business and actually I say not just personally develop myself but also professionally develop myself. But yeah, I mean, how does that sound, Raiden?
yeah, that sounds good.
For sure, for sure. No, yeah. So I mean, yeah, Tona, I actually wanted to introduce you to Graydon. We're actually in the same club together too. We were in business society, and yeah, he was actually in the finance
Hello?
department, and I was in entrepreneurship.
You hear me?
Yeah, nice to meet you, man.
Oh, nice to meet you. Graydon, right?
Yeah,
That's dope. Nice to meet you, man. Where you from?
I'm from San Francisco. What about you?
Oh, you from the Bay? I'm
Yeah,
from Fremont. You know Fremont?
yeah. One of my
Like,
housemates was from there.
oh, really?
Yeah.
That's dope. Yeah, I live in Fremont right now, but I'm gonna move to San Jose because I'm going to
Oh
school over
shit.
here. Yeah, yeah. But how do you and Chris know each other?
From business side, and then yeah, we just met through the club. I was in the finance department. He was in the entrepreneur, and then we would have meetings every week, and then every now and then have like a club social type
Oh,
of thing,
yeah.
and then we just end up meeting up and just talking.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So you're over there at UC Merced
Yeah.
with him, right? Okay. Well, what year are you?
I was a fourth year. I just graduated this May or
Oh,
like
you just
last week.
graduated.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, man. Congrats. Would you graduate?
Bachelor of Science in MB, Management and Business Economics.
Okay. Dang, okay. So you already graduated then. So
Uh,
are you going into working or
right now just normal retail, but I'm waiting to hear back from a couple banking jobs, hopefully nearby.
you going for banking jobs?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. That's good to hear. Yeah. I'm also going for those banking jobs. I'm finishing up my degree right now in finance. But right now I'm working in sales. But eventually, like my career plan is to combine the two, right?
Yeah.
Working in sales. Um, a lot of money to be made with commission. Um, what about you though? What you kind of been thinking about for your career path so far?
Career paths. I've been just trying to apply for whatever. Like
Uh,
this past semester, I've been applying to either like from a variety of like sales to like management to like finance or like
uh,
banking, accountant type things. But I just wanted to. I guess I'm kind of at a point. I don't have much work experience, so I'm trying to like, I guess,
Mhm.
branch out, see what's out there, and then
Yeah.
see what
No,
would be
I
good.
no, it is hard, man. I know that job market
Yeah.
right now,
It's
right?
tough.
And especially when you don't have any, not much work
Mm.
experience. Not much work experience. Did you do like any like clubs or any like things like that, curriculars or
Um,
anything?
Nothing crazy. Just I was the director of the finance department
Uh,
with Chris, or in the business side with Chris, and I was in their investment and club for a little bit, and then they had a marketing and sales club, but it got like disbanded after like one semester.
oh man, sucks for them, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, definitely the job market. Even if you do have work experience, even if you did more clubs and things like that, doesn't matter. The job market is absolutely terrible right now,
Yeah.
and that's kind of why I started when I was very young. Working very young, still working. I worked since high school to college, and it's just stacking up experience, stacking up those skills because I knew how hard it was gonna be. But I'm curious to know, what made you kind of want to, like the fact that we're sitting down here today. I guess you and Chris talked a little bit about business, right? I'm curious, what kind of like, motivated you to want to make this meeting with Chris?
I've always had like I guess in the back of my head, I always like thought about like starting my own like online business of some sort, or just like have like a little side hustle online or something like that. And I don't want to sound like I'm nosy or anything, but I remember during business idea, I heard that Chris had like his own business already, like an energy drink company or something.
Uh,
And then that kind of like I guess kind of motivated me seeing that someone else or another university student doing
uh,
the same thing, then maybe like I could do it too.
okay. Wow. So yeah, I mean, you hear a guy like that, Chris always talking about, his brand and things like that. So yeah, and you never really asked him about it.
um, no, we never. I don't know. Whenever we talk, we never really got into like business
Uh,
like that. We just, I guess, just talk about whatever was on campus or
Popped it up. Uh,
and
okay. Yeah. I mean, once you do talk to him about it, he's got a lot to say. So I'm
Yeah.
surprised, you knew him for so long. It's only coming up now. That's cool though. So have you ever gotten started with like, any side hustles or things to look on to do, things you were looking at to do on the side?
um, I I was looking into like drop shipping, but I heard a bunch of like mixed things about that,
Uh huh.
and I did research on it. Like I looked into it, but I never like started the process or anything.
Mm,
But
Mm.
I was looking into
mm,
like the online business aspect of like
uh
e-commerce.
huh. Okay. Yeah. So let me ask you, what stopped you from getting started?
Um, I was looking at that throughout college, and I
Uh
guess
huh.
that's kind of using it as an excuse, but I was just busy with college life, and then I
Oh,
never
okay.
really got around to actually starting
Uh-huh.
what I wanted to do.
Mm.
I feel that. Yeah, I feel that because the reason I asked you that is because I was the type of guy, you know, to try many different things, and what stopped me from succeeding in anything. It was money. That was the first thing because what I'm a broke college student, right?
Mm,
Money
Facts.
was the first thing. The second thing was guidance. I didn't know what I was doing because I mean like I said, I started going into like these types of side hustles and things to do very young. That's like I said, if you ever got to hear from Chris, he's very similar. He's the type of guy like sell you some chips, in a little duffel bag on the playground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because our families, we both come from like the Mexican immigrant background, so we try to help out a lot. So for me, like I said, I started working very young, and I looked into all these different side hustles really quick because once I started working 40 hours a week in high school, you have like that realization that this is what the rest of your life looks like, and if you don't do start something now, nothing's gonna change. So the types of thing I looked into was actually I had drop shipping as well. Me and my a few of my buddies, we got started into that. Another thing we did was our own clothing brand. Is didn't do very good, but then my main hustle was doing these investing. It was day trading. Are you familiar with like the
Yeah,
stock
I looked
market?
into that also a bit.
You looked into it?
Yeah,
You ever
day
got
trading, and
started?
then I did for a little bit, but then yeah, I don't know what happened. I would buy a couple of stocks every now and
Uh,
then I just slowed down and stopped.
yeah. I mean, if you really want to see a profit on a day-to-day basis, you gotta be up 6 a.m. You gotta be looking at,
Yeah.
everything you're putting in. But same thing, I did that for about 2 years, like up until I got into college. And, like I said, the main reason I failed in these things was one, money, because,
Hmm.
day trading is kind of like gambling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need money to make money. So,
Facts.
I had a job to make myself some money, right? Money was one thing. The most important thing was guidance, was
Mm-hmm.
mentorship.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really what, separates me, and Chris to other e-commerce businesses out there. Because you said you knew Chris, right? How long have you known him?
Like what, a year now about?
Probably like a
A
year.
Not
year
too
now.
long. Yeah.
So then I think you've gotten to see, a little change in Chris. I mean, look how he did his hair today. Like, I carries himself a lot more
That's
professionally.
crazy.
If you knew the type of guy Chris was, he's completely different today.
Mhm.
And sometimes when people look at that, they're like, "Huh, I wonder what it is. Like, what change did this guy make? Who is this guy surrounding himself with?" And that's because I was the one who helped introduce Chris into our mentor, and he's the one that's helped me start and grow our business, up to what it is today. So, like I said, I want to ask you, did you have any experience when it comes to mentorship?
Um, nah, I don't.
Nothing.
I would look online and then I would always see other people talking about like, oh, they have a mentor, like kind of
Mm-hmm.
walking through the steps for what they're doing. But all the stuff I see online is like, oh, all those like paid mentorships, like those paid subscriptions or whatever.
That's itchy right there.
Exactly. Exactly, right? That was me when I was day trading. Just watch a quick YouTube video, but then don't buy the course at the end because
Uh,
it's too much. But yeah, I feel like let me ask you another question. Do you know, or who's the person you go to when it comes to discussing about your future and your finances?
um, I guess nobody really. I talk to
Uh
my
huh.
parents about like, oh, what do you want to do in your future? But I just give them like a broad answer because I don't
Uh
really
huh.
know myself.
Uh
Mm-hmm.
huh.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't.
No, I agree with you that for me it was nobody too. I didn't have anyone because what's the number one thing I look for in a mentor? I'm someone I don't just follow advice from anybody. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't just blindly follow someone and submit to them because I kind of have an ego too. I mean, I feel like the high standard I'm talking about is this person needs to have what I'm looking for. They need to have some type of result. They need to have some type of success because if they don't, they're not qualified to give me advice. So when I'm talking about my parents, right? Like you said before, my parents are living paycheck to paycheck right now. You know what I mean? They're not
Yeah.
exactly qualified to talk about making passive income, about financial freedom.
Mm,
So I was just like you, in the sense where I had nobody. That's why I started, looking online, seeing different ways to get connected to people. And it was actually at my school over here at San Jose State where I met my business coach, and then she was the one who introduced me to my mentor. So this was the guy. Like I said, I started my business at 18 years old, my first year of college, and I didn't know anything, right, at that point. I didn't know too much about what it took to start an e-commerce business and scale it up, in this way, because all I've done my whole life is work and seen my parents work and been told at school that you need to go work. That's why I decided to go into the business major because I wanted a lifestyle of money, time, and peace of mind. But even the business major doesn't teach you none of that. So I was really set on to like kind of look for it on my own. So when I met my mentor and heard his story, it was crazy because it was at a big conference down in SoCal. And he told his story about how building his business, he retired himself at 22 years old.
Wow.
And that was crazy. Right. I mean, do you know anyone that's retired that young?
That's some crazy numbers.
That's insane, right? Like right now, I'm 20. I feel like I'm falling behind. You know what I mean? I gotta catch up. But 22, and the craziest part was he was an international student. He came from Vietnam. So just like my parents, no money, no English. Except my parents are still working today. He's financially free.
Mm.
And like it was his real raw story, you know, about how he was once in the situation like I'm in right now. Actually, probably far worse than anything I'm going through right now. But against all odds, he overcame it, and it was completely crazy because I've never heard a story like that. So obviously, I wanted to know what he did and how I can learn from him when I first went to that event. But the second thing I was thinking about was if what he was doing was even real,
Mm.
was even legit,
Yeah.
right? Because I mean, he said retiring himself at 22. I'm like, is this guy some type of scammer? Swiping credit cards, you know what I mean? Like it really made. I genuinely had that question. But like I said, since I was at that conference, I got to talk to him one on one, and I got to ask him there because my coach, the one that I met at San Jose State, she knew him because they both came from Vietnam. They had a mutual connection. So she was the one that helped me sneak around backstage that event to ask him anything, right? Like $1 million mentor, what would you ask him? You know what I asked him? I asked him, can I learn from you? I asked him, can I know what you did? You know, as long as what you're doing is legal, as long as it's ethical, you know, the two big things for me. Can you show me what you did so I can have what you have? And you want to know what he told me? He said that everyone asked him that question every single time at every single event. So he asked me back, what makes you different from any of those people that asked me the same question? And that question got me stuck. He had me frozen. He had me stuttering. I mean, what would you answer to that question?
I don't even know what I would answer in the spot. That's like the elevator pitch question that.
Exactly, right? It's the straight, you know, why you, right?
Yeah.
Why should I invest time into you?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was different from any mentorship that I've seen out there. Because you know, it wasn't like I was paying this guy like thousands of dollars all the time. It was through the business model where he had genuine incentive to help me. But then he asked me, why you specifically? If I said the resume, there's someone with more on their resume, that same event. If I said my skills, there's someone who had more skills. If I said my GPA, there's always someone who has a higher GPA,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everything that I've done, there's probably someone that's done more. You know, I was like I said, I was in my first year when I went to that event, and I'm looking around, and I see all these professionals, and I'm sitting there, my tie's not even on right, and I'm just like, damn, you know what I mean? So I didn't know what to tell him, but then I asked him a very important question, and this is the part that most people, you know, they miss. I asked him back, how can I separate myself from everyone else? And then he told me everything that he looked for in a business partner. It wasn't the achievements, it wasn't the accolades, it wasn't the GPA or anything like that. He didn't care about that. What he cared about in a long-term business partner is someone's character, someone's attitude, someone's accountability, integrity, you know, transparency, communication, vision, ambition. Those are the things that were important to him in a business partner. And I don't know if Chris has talked to you much about our business yet, but you can kind of understand that it's a long term thing that
Mm,
we're doing here. You know, this isn't exactly a get rich quick type of thing because there's no such thing as that,
yeah.
right? But we're really committed and looking for the real business partners, real people that we can rely on, that we can have mutual trust, that we can work together, share similar values. That's essentially what it all comes down to. So that's how you notice so far. I mean, I don't know how long, like what, 22 minutes in the Zoom. We haven't talked so much about business.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you were expecting,
Nah.
but like I said, and I'm just trying to get to know the person sitting across from, or in this on the screen in this case, right? Because this is our first time meeting each other, so that's why I kind of want to get to know you a little bit better. Um, but I did want to share a little bit, like I said, about my background. Not this. I'm asking you all these questions, and you're like, "Who even is this guy?" Right? No, I'm glad to share a little bit of my background and the reason why I was looking for business because I understood that if I stayed here in the Bay Area, I needed more than one source of income.
Yeah. Most
Just
definitely.
one job is not gonna get cut it out here.
Nah.
Mm.
So I was looking for something. But now I'm curious to ask you because I feel like it's common sense to have something on the side, start working on something now, but I don't see a lot of people doing that. And I'm not sure about Merced, but over here in San Jose, what I see a lot, you know, they're drinking, they're smoking, they're
Yeah, going out.
partying, going out. They had a free concert. They had like two free concerts here. Everyone can live, right? And don't get me wrong, because I used to do those things too, right? But I know Chris used to do those things
Yeah,
too,
I
huh?
used to do a lot of that. I used to do a lot of that.
Yeah, right. But the reason I respect Chris is because we share that value where we're very willing to just put that all aside, just give
Mm.
it all up, and really lock in on something that actually matters. And it's surprising, when I get to meet someone like that. And basically, the question I want to ask you is why. Like what really motivates you to like in a world where everyone's living in a moment like that? What motivates you to kind of want something more in life?
Yeah, it's kind of like what you said, like just like
Uh,
thinking of the bigger picture about like what I could provide for my parents or what I could provide for my future family.
Mm.
I'm just
mm,
trying to think in the long run, like how I could be what I guess like not sustainable, but supporting to all the people that's
mm,
in my life. And yeah, I guess the way I want to spend my money is to take care of the people that I care of, and
mm.
hopefully I can get enough money to do that and repay my parents for everything they did for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we definitely share those family values, right? For everything they've done for us. Where are you from? Where your parents
Oh, my
are they from?
parents, nah, they came to the U.S. or my dad came to the U.S. in the 80s, and then I think my mom came here late 80s or early 90s.
Oh
Mm.
wow, really? From where?
South Korea.
Oh, South Korea. Okay,
Mm.
early '90s. Oh, okay. So then you're first generation, right?
Uh, nah, I would have, but my dad, he finished his school here, and then my mom did
Uh,
2 years when they came over here. Yeah.
okay.
My dad,
Well,
he
what do
finished
they?
his. Sorry.
I was gonna say, what do they do right now?
My mom, she just works at a bank right now, and then
Uh,
my dad's at Whole Foods.
oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of looking into banking too. Did you ask your mom for like some referrals?
No, yeah, I asked her, or asked if she could ask her old bank, but I guess they don't have any
Uh,
like open positions right now, especially because it's the
uh,
summer. They're getting a bunch of new hires.
Mm.
yeah. That's tough, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like it sounds too perfect. Like doing a banking job, mom works in a bank. It's
yeah. I thought it
automatic,
would have
right?
worked out, but
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't go as planned.
Okay. But anyways, yeah. No, I just want to ask that because both your parents are working. right? Just like both of my parents, just like both of Chris's parents. Out of everything, like you said, they've been in America since the 90s, the 80s, and they've gone through a lot just to get to that point, and they're still going through it even right now. And I say these things like, I want to give back, I want to retire you, mom, I want to buy you a house. But then when I used to go out and drink and smoke and wake up at like 2 p.m. on a weekday, it's like I'm not serious about it. You know what I mean? It's like, sure, I can say it, I like the idea of it, but the actions aren't matching. And then that's what really showed me that I'm not serious about my goal. And that's something I really want to emphasize, because even with this mentorship in this business, I asked my mentor, you know, he asked me about my dreams, what I'm trying to accomplish, right? I earned his mentorship, started my business, and he asked me, what's it all for? I told him about how I wanted to have a lot of money. I wanted to be rich. But he told me that, it's smarter, it's better to be wealthy. And the difference between those two is money and time, right? I told him I wanted to buy my mom $1 million home, but without any time, I can't spend any time with her there, right? If I'm stuck in my job, I could buy myself the red Lamborghini that I've been looking for. But then he told me the only place you're gonna drive it is to and from work.
Mm,
I told him about the Rolex that I want to get. You have a nice watch, but you don't have any time.
facts.
So when I told him I wanted to give back to my parents, he asked me how much, and I didn't know, right? Like, you can give back in many different ways. You can give back by paying bills, by buying them a house, by washing the dishes. That's all giving back. But he wanted to get really specific with it, because once you know an exact amount of how much their expenses are, how much your expenses are, how much is the payment on the house, then it's easy to work backwards from there. To
Mm-hmm.
know that now
Mm-hmm.
I need to make this much money from my job. I need to make this much money from my side hustle to be able to hit my goal of retirement by 25. And that's where most people get stuck. It sounds so easy, right? When you
Yeah.
say it, but a lot of the time, we sat down and said we'll do it later. Right? I'll worry about it. I'll worry about it later. I know I should think about my future right now, but I don't want to, right? Like, we've all been there. And to be honest, I don't want to wait until I lose my job, I get laid off, these AI take over the world and take all of our jobs, another pandemic to happen, me to lose all the stocks in my portfolio. I don't need to wait for any of that to happen for me to lock in right now and say I need a backup source of income, because I already see it happening. Economic crash,
Exactly.
pandemic, whatever it is, I want to be prepared for that. So that's why, these years when I'm young, like the prime of my life, this is where I should be allocating my energy, my time into something meaningful. So that's the reason I'm talking a lot about this motivation and knowing where you're going and what you want, because I can tell you right now that this journey that me and Chris have been going on, and all of the coaches, all of the mentors we met along the way, very difficult and very hard. I'd be lying to you if I said there wasn't a lot of times where I thought about quitting, where I thought about giving up, where Chris thought about quitting, where Chris thought about giving up, because I want to go back to my old ways. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. I need sleep. I want to go have fun. But we keep each other accountable,
Mm.
and that's what I look for in a business partner. Is someone that can push and help me push throughout the process, right? Someone that I can really count on to hold themselves accountable, but also hold me accountable.
Cool.
And that's kind of, the timeline of what something like this looks like. Because, like I said, I've already done my learning from failure, from investing, from drop shipping, from a clothing brand. And I really took a lot out of me to really sit down and learn how to analyze a business model, to really align it with my goals, to find out if this is something for me. But what I noticed from a lot of young people that I talk to, it's hard to connect our business model to their goals because they don't have a goal. They don't know where they're going, right? And for me, like I said, when you have that in mind, that retirement by 25, the first down payment on the house, the years until I can get the better car, that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me going through those times of doubts, of failure. You know what else keeps me going? This is what keeps me going. Seeing my mom come home tired from work.
Mhm.
Seeing my dad come home tired from work. And I asked them, how was work today? They said it was good. I know it's not good, right?
Yeah.
I know they're tired. I
Facts.
know it because they've been doing it their whole lives, and they're still doing it. So I feel like that's the biggest motivation for me. And even against all of that, I have the people I surround myself with, like Chris and these other winners and these people that are thinking about a better future. Like I said, in my past friends, my past association, if I were to talk about my dreams, they would laugh in my face. And instead, I see someone like Chris, someone like my coach that actually empowered me and helped me want to get there because they want to achieve something for themselves too, holding themselves to a higher standard. But basically, I'm just, letting you know that what the timeline looks like and really what it is that we're looking for in a business partner. Because out of all these things that I've been talking about, I bet you would want that in a business partner as well,
Yeah.
right? So I bet you can really take the time to evaluate someone like me, evaluate someone like Chris while we're evaluating you to see if this is something that can really work for the long term, right? But I know I was talking for a while. I just wanted to ask, do you have any questions or any thoughts on top of your mind right now?
Well, kind of. I was just like kind of thinking about what like the kind of like what kind of workload it would be
Uh-huh.
because I'm trying to work two jobs at the moment, just get
Mm,
as many hours as I can. So I'm trying to
okay.
see like what type of work I would be doing if I was had the opportunity to work with you guys.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Did you work during the semester?
No, I just wanted to finish my classes,
Okay.
graduate, get it done with.
Yeah. So now you want to stack up. Oh, you're not even
Yeah,
going back to classes. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, starting to get. Oh, you said you're gonna work two jobs now?
yeah, I'm trying
Oh
to.
man, there you go. Okay. I mean, when it comes down to, your business, however time you want to allocate to it is
Mm,
up to you, right? Like I'm not your boss, right? I'm not saying, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. I can recommend you some things. Like I've been running my business for about 2 years now. I know, some techniques, some things that work that can really benefit for you. But at the end of the day, it's up to you, right? What it comes down to, I feel like this decision, what it comes down to is, like I said, your goal, right? If I wanted to retire myself at 25, building up my business, obviously I would need to put in more time for it.
mm,
I mean, that's a given, right? But if I was okay with, I can get this done by the time I'm 30, by the time I'm 35, I'm at 40, then there's no problem to really not spend so much time on it. So to be honest with your question, I couldn't really answer it because it's dependent on you, right? It really depends on what you're looking for, how much uh, ambition you have, how much urgency you have. But that's more down the line of actually building the business. But for right now, like I said, you're still kind of learning about it. I mean, let me ask you, how much do you understand about e-commerce and franchising?
well, I don't want to sound like I know a lot, but I
Uh-huh.
think I know a little bit about it.
Yeah. Well, tell me what you do know. I'm curious to know. Well,
E-commerce.
we'll start with e-commerce first.
I just, I guess I kind of just know the basics, just like it's like online stuff, online business,
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
Selling things online, finding a distributor, or
Uh-huh.
either you selling it or you find someone to distribute for you.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's
So
just the
okay.
basics.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much e-commerce, online commerce, right? You know, it's an online store. Yeah, it's funny when I did do drop shipping. What we focused on? We did fidget spinners and the little cubes. These little toys like
Yeah,
that.
little
Because
toys.
at the time they were super popular. Everyone was buying them, and then they died out. No one cared about them anymore. And guess what? I was stuck with everything I couldn't sell. But it's different from e-commerce company that we run today because of some of the different businesses that we partner with. But I'm not going to talk about that too much today. But essentially, yeah, like you said, it's just an online store because as an e-commerce platform, what you are is a middleman. You're in the middle, you're a middleman, and essentially it's your job to leverage two things. The first thing is technology, right? I mean, this is how we can run a business on our phone, on our computer. But the second thing is a little bit more important. You leverage networks. And this is how these smart e-commerce companies have really been operating and taking over this world. For example, Uber. Uber is one of my favorite examples because, I mean, when was the last time you seen a taxi out on the street?
Been a while.
In a while, right? You know, you don't see that anymore because Uber took them out of business.
Mm.
Uber is now the largest taxi company in this world. Do you know how many vehicles they own?
Okay, just a large number. That's all I.
They don't own a single vehicle.
Oh,
The
cause it's
driver is
yeah,
a
it's the
vehicle,
drivers. Yeah,
right? Yeah, they just partner with the drivers
yeah.
so they can leverage their vehicle. This is the difference between building business in the B quadrant versus the S quadrant. Is that what we're focused on with our e-commerce business is leveraging. So this is how the biggest taxi company in the world doesn't need to buy any cars, or the largest rental property company, Airbnb, doesn't need to buy any real estate. What they own is the platform and they connect to networks. Like for Uber, it's someone with a car who needs some money, and on the other side, it's someone who needs a ride and is willing to pay for it. And Uber bridges that gap. And it's so smart. You see companies like Netflix doing it, there's a lot more, but basically, this is kind of the basics of e-commerce. So if I told you you had a few products, I mean, you already mentioned did you get to try one of Chris's energy drinks?
No, I always just seen them online, but
Yeah, I would recommend trying one. But basically, imagine you have yourself this platform with a bunch of products that you can partner with, you can leverage, and essentially, start have your own e-commerce platform. Does that sound like you can make passive income?
um, wait, my bad. Could you repeat that? Kind of cut out.
Oh yeah. So I mean, having your own e-commerce business,
Mm.
does that sound like you can make passive income?
If I put in the work, I think I could make
Yeah.
it work. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, right? I mean, create a large customer base, find a good way to market your products, right? I mean, you should see from Chris, he has a lot of people, buying products from his store. You definitely could make some good passive income. But what about retiring yourself at 22 years old type of income?
Mm,
Um, yeah, that'd be hard.
A lot harder.
That
No,
much
yeah.
money.
Yeah, you're right. It's a lot harder. I'd be better off working like what, two full times. But the reason our mentor was
Coco,
able to achieve that and show us how to do the
Coco,
same is by franchising his
Cox.
business out. So, like I said, this is how we're scaling up this e-commerce franchise, this e-commerce platform by the process of franchising to other independent business owners. So, you know how franchising works, right?
uh, kind of,
A
yeah.
little bit, a little bit. Okay. My favorite example is McDonald's, right? Because if I were to ask you, do you think McDonald's makes the best cheeseburger?
Nah.
No, no way, huh? I think I could make a better burger than
Nah.
McDonald's, to be honest. You know what I mean? But even if I could, at the end of the day, McDonald's is still number one. No one's gonna beat them.
Mm.
The reason for that is, like I said, their scalability of their business. Because when the first guy made McDonald's, Ray Kroc, you look at everything on the menu, it's very cheap. It's very easy, right? Like they hire the high schoolers to flip burgers over there. Like it's simple.
Yeah.
Everything on the menu is like that. So when it's easy to duplicate and it works, it actually creates results. When Ray Kroc opens the next McDonald's, he makes it the exact same. It's easy. It works. Make it the exact same. It's easy and it works. And that's the process of scaling up something that you have, an asset that you have. But basically tying it back to our business, I can tell you that what we do is, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's simple. No, I mean, like I said, I got started with my business. I was 18 years old, my first year of college. I didn't know anything. But because I leveraged the people that I was working with, my coach and my mentor, because they have a successful business, which is nothing that I was used to. I knew I had to learn from them. And that's how, they eventually took me under their wing and, been people that have helped me throughout this whole time. So I know that's very general, not much information, but well, I kind of froze there. My bad. I know it's pretty general, not that much information, but it's something that if you want to learn more about, I feel like we can set up another time to talk about it a little bit in depth, right? Because I'm not sure if you want to be here for like another hour, 2 hours.
Yeah, I have to dip at 9.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be a pretty lengthy conversation. But if anything that, I said resonates with you, if you've really been trying to look for a better business opportunity, we can set up another time to meet up again. Now that I know a little bit more about you. And to be honest, I enjoyed our talk, Grayson.
Yeah.
Like I said, I talked to a lot of people about business, about mentorship, and I do appreciate every thought because it's getting to learn from someone's story, a new person that I've never met before, what they've been through, and most importantly, why are they looking for business? Why are they looking for something else? So, like I said, I enjoyed our talk. We should definitely set up another time to connect again, talk a little bit more. If you're actually, if you want to learn more about our business model, I think, but before that, I want to send you some material to review because let me tell you, my mentor, this is great. This is a crazy thing about him that really inspired me. He his passion is with teaching. His family, they were both teachers, and he wanted to be a teacher growing up. But he knew that a teacher's salary was not going to get him anywhere. So instead of studying teaching, going into teaching, he went into business and started his business, scaled it up to the point he was able to retire himself, and now he spends his free time to teach passionately.
Yep.
I was like, dang, that's like a different level of following your passion.
Yeah.
But basically, he makes these videos that educate people more about the entrepreneurial mindset, about financial literacy, more information about our business, how to evaluate a business. So I want to send one of his videos out to you because, like I said, everything that I am today, I owe to my mentor because he was the one that helped shape me into who I am today. And he has a lot of mindset, a lot of concepts you should probably take notes on in that video. But most importantly, I want you to look at him, right? Like I said, I'm not someone that follows people blindly, so I really want you to pay attention on the guy speaking in the video, which is my mentor, and ask yourself, is what he's saying resonating with me? Does it make sense? Is it something I agree with, right? Is it someone, I can listen to? Because I know you don't know him that well. It'll be the first time you see that, but I feel like these are the things that you should evaluate him, me, Chris, or pretty much anyone you meet on, right? So how does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll most
Sounds good.
definitely look
Okay.
into that.
So I think Chris can send that out to you, um, the video, And like I said, maybe take some time, take some notes on it, reflect on it, and like I said, what he says resonates with you and you're serious about learning more. I definitely, want to meet up again to tell you, show you a little bit more about what exactly it is that we do and how it can align with your goals. But that should be, it for right now. But like I said, it was nice talking with you, Grayson. I do gotta get going for a bit, but it was great meeting you. Like I said, I do love hearing new people's stories, and I hope to connect soon with you. All right.
Yeah, likewise. It was nice meeting you,
All
man.
right, man. All right. I'll see you guys later then. All right.
For sure. Then
Yeah,
peace out, Tona. Yo, what'd you
was
think?
it?
Yeah, what'd you think about that then, Graydon?
Well, he seemed interesting. I most definitely want to learn more about him and
Yeah.
like what he, I guess, is working on, what his like day to day life looks like.
For sure, for sure. No, yeah. I mean, just like you, I was, had like all those questions. I'm like, dang, like who is this guy? I want to get to know more about him. And yeah, he actually sent me a video too. My first time meeting him, he sent me a video, and I don't even know if he mentioned or mentioned his name, but his name is Phil, and
Mm,
he actually makes a lot of material, and yeah, like you said, teaching his passion, and so he actually makes like yeah, like financial literacy videos, and pretty much just like material to kind of help us, really have that business owner mindset because I feel like we're all kind of trained to have like this employee mindset, to think like an employee, but he really kind of shows you like how to think like a business owner, really like zoom out and think outside the box. But
mm,
yeah, man, I know like you said you gotta leave at 9. But before you kind of dip out, like I want to share a little bit more, like because I know you know me, but I want to share a little bit more about myself. I know, Tona was kind of saying, how like he used to, have a past, and I feel like you don't know so much about my past, and I kind of want to, share with you just a little bit, kind of like even before I'd say like before I even like went into college, because if I'm gonna be honest with you, bro, like I didn't even want to go to college. Like that wasn't even like my mindset. Like I was like, you know what? As soon as I graduate high school, like I'm out. I'm working 2 jobs because that's what I saw my brother doing. And I saw my brother working 2 jobs. He worked at the casino and he worked at like I think it was like a McDonald's. So bro's working the graveyard and then he's working in the morning. And so I saw him do that for a while and he bought himself a nice BMW. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to be like that. But what I didn't realize at a young age was that, like Tony said, he only drove it to and from work. He didn't have
mm,
time to enjoy it. So I'm like, dang, is that really the lifestyle I want to live? And, kind of as I like, progressed in high school, it was actually like the end of my freshman year. Because I was hanging around the wrong people, was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I actually got arrested, being 15 years old, and I went to juvenile hall, and it was crazy, because I never like really thought, that I would do something like that. My parents were like really disappointed in me. They're like, wow, you're the middle child. We would have never expected this from you. And I still remember the day vividly. It was on New Year's Eve. Because I had the handcuffs on. I was in the back of the
yeah.
police car. And man, I'm like back there looking into like a dark sea, bro. And then like, I see all these fireworks going off. I'm like, no way, bro. It's New Year's and I'm getting arrested. Like, what is this, bro? Like what path am I going down, bro? I started questioning myself and all these things like that. And so yeah, very similar to Tony. Like I came, my parents came, from an immigrant background, and so pretty much I wanted, to try to live a better life, that they didn't have, and so that's pretty much why, like I kind of, started to like think about a future. I started thinking about college, and so my mom switched me school districts because I actually got expelled. I had to go like a continuation school. Pretty much, I went through like a whole lot of like trials, tribulations, and I started working at 15 right after that because I had to pay a restitution fee. And so, what I like to tell people is that I feel like, you know, maturity doesn't come with age, but it comes with responsibility. And dude, I had a lot of responsibility that 15 years. I had to pay bills, I had to work, I had to ride my
Mm,
bike to a different city there and back just to go to school because my parents were like, nah, you did this to yourself. You're gonna find your own way to go to school. And I got kicked off the bus because they caught me smoking on the bus. So like all these things was just like they were just kept stacking up, stacking up. I'm like, bro, like what type of lifestyle do I want to live? And not until I went to college, even my first year, like I was still hanging around the same people that I was in high school, and I just was smoking, going to parties. Like my first year, I was like the most unlocked in person you could think of. Like I was barely passing. Like I had like a 2 point something GPA. Like I was almost on academic probation. I didn't go on it. I was like, nah, C's get degrees. It's good. And so like I barely made it out, but I was really just, trying to do something different. So my second semester, I joined business society. I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me step out of my comfort zone. This is college. You know, I yeah, I'm doing decently in school right now, but I want to do something more. I've always wanted to start my own business. Like Tona said, when I was in elementary school and middle school, I was always, that kid hustling. I was like selling chips, Arizonas, candy, what you can name it, bro. I was selling it, bro. Pants, clothes, whatever it was, bro. I was just trying to make a quick buck, bro, because I knew my parents, really couldn't support me, especially for things that I wanted. And so pretty much, after like, joining business society, yeah, they taught me some soft skills. They taught me how to dress, casual. I mean, you were in it. And so pretty much after all that, I was really just focusing on just developing myself. I started working out more, started to try to get back in shape. And that's actually when Tona reached out to me. And so, because I was on like this pathway of, trying to like, self develop myself, I was like, you know what, why not give it a shot, because I was looking for opportunity. I was, always wanted to start my own business. And so when I saw a 19-year-old, working at Meta, working at Levi Stadium, running his own business while he's in college, I'm like, this guy obviously knows something that I don't. I want to learn from him. And so, just like, how I introduced you to him, I had like a sit down like this just on Zoom, and, I kind of just pretty much almost like it went like almost like exactly the same. And so, I kind of just, learned from him. And ever since then, he kind of just took me under his wing, and I've been able to, kind of just professionally, personally develop myself, not because of, like, just like, I say this business, but because of the mentorship that, it's really under. And I think like the biggest thing that's helped me a lot was, like the, no vulgarity, no smoking, no drinking, because we don't really promote those things. And, this mentorship, and that's helped me a lot because, bro, like, man, I was like addicted to smoking weed. Like I would smoke like you wouldn't see me like a single day that I wasn't like faded. I'd go to the pab. Anything I did, I had to be like high. The pab, I had to get faded. I went to the gym, I had to get faded. Whatever it
Yeah,
was, I'd go to class, I'd have to be faded. Like, oh, I
I
can't
feel
lock
that.
in unless I'm faded. But like, I was not locked in. Like what? And so, pretty much, I would just use that excuse, and then so like I was actually, sober for what, 246 days. And I'm not gonna lie, when was it? It was like a few months ago, maybe like a month or two ago actually, like towards like the end of like the second year, I started smoking again. And I'm like, damn, like this isn't right. It kind of sucks, like I'm not really getting things done. But what I liked about it was that I was actually able to, open up, not just to Tona, but to my business coach, my mentor. Hey, I low-key started smoking again. I kind of fell back, not really locking in. And they welcomed me back with open arms. They never once judged me. They never once, talked bad behind my back. And so I know for sure my old association, my old homies are like, oh, bro, like just talking a bunch of smack about, like, oh, you're not even locked in, like you're not serious about it, this and that. But I say what's different is really just the people who are in this business. And so that's kind of what Tony was telling you, really telling you to like look at and really evaluate. Like don't just look at the business, don't just look at like kind of like the surface level things, but really look at the values, look at the people who are in the business. So that's why he kind of said, just look at our coach. I mean, look at our mentor, and just really evaluate him and kind of ask yourself some questions. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to take up any more of your time, Graydon. It was good talking to you, bro. And yeah, I mean, you got my number. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, bro, just shoot me a text, and I can send you that video that Tony was talking about.
But yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, bro. And hey, I hope you get that. Hopefully, you get a bank job or a retail job, just a job in general.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, I know the job market is tough out here right now, bro. I applied to like before I even got this job, I had applied to like what, like almost 100 jobs, bro.
I think I applied to in total 100 plus guaranteed.
Yeah, no, I was at like 130, I remember, and like, dude, I was like going interviews, and like I would go first round, second round, and like, oh, sorry, other candidates. I'm like, bro, what is this? Like, just
Yeah.
wasting my time, bro. But I mean, yeah, it's pretty much just a numbers game when it comes to like job applications. And I can give you some advice. Something that my coach told me. I mean, it sounds like you're doing it already, but something that my coach told me was, if you're not applying to 25 to 30 jobs a day, you're not even serious about looking for a job. And
Mm.
she got me with that because I remember, like, oh, I'm applying like 5 or 10 jobs a day. She's like, what is that? She's like, you don't even want a job that bad. And then so after that, I was like, all right, you know what? Every single day, like 30 jobs, 30 jobs, 30 jobs. Like just, I would just go on Indeed and just spam it on the Indeed app.
Uh,
But yeah, bro, I don't want to take too much of your time again. It was good catching up with you, my boy.
yeah, likewise, you too, man.
For sure, for sure. All right then, bro. I'll let you go then, bro. You have a good rest of your
Alright,
night.
you
And
too.
yeah, I'll send you that video, right, my man?
Alright, see you.
For sure, my man. Peace out.